Washington has printed its way to $39 trillion of debt and still expects the world to trust the receipt. For nearly 80 years, the US dollar wasn't just another currency. It became the plumbing of the global economy. Every barrel of oil, every container ship, every emergency loan, priced in dollars, settled in dollars, ultimately controlled through Washington's financial system. That plumbing is now being quietly rerouted. Not by dramatic headlines, not by one historic summit, but by engineers in Beijing, bankers in Riyadh, and finance ministers across the developing world who have all learned the same lesson. The dollar is not just money, it is also a geopolitical weapon, and no nation wants to leave its future entirely inside someone else's weapon. Tonight, we separate panic from proof, because the real story isn't a sudden collapse. It's something much slower and far more dangerous. Every year, a familiar prediction returns. The dollar is dying. BRICS will replace it. Gold will end American dominance. Yet none of those predictions have come true. According to the International Monetary Fund, the dollar still accounts for roughly 57% of global central bank reserves. Around 88% of all foreign exchange transactions still involve the dollar, and more than half of global trade continues to be invoiced in it. By almost every traditional measure, American financial dominance appears secure. That is the myth, because a story built on one statistic is often the easiest story to sell. Look closer, and the picture begins to change. The dollar's share of global reserves has fallen from more than 70% in 2000 to roughly 57% today. Nearly a quarter of its reserve dominance has disappeared within a single generation. At the same time, China has spent more than a decade building an alternative that attracted remarkably little attention. Its cross-border interbank payment system, or CIPS, now processes over 180 trillion yuan every year, connecting more than 1,700 financial institutions across around 190 countries. Back in 2017, only about 10% of China's cross-border trade was settled in yuan. Today, that figure has climbed to more than 53%. Meanwhile, several BRICS countries are connecting their payment systems directly, reducing dependence on the traditional dollar corridor. Projects such as mBridge, already operating between China, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, point toward a future where cross-border payments no longer require Washington's financial infrastructure. None of this replaces the dollar. Not yet. China's payment system remains far smaller than the existing Western network and still relies on parts of that infrastructure for international messaging. This is not a financial coup. It is a hedge, built by governments that watched Russia lose access to hundreds of billions of dollars in reserves in 2022 and decided they never wanted to face the same vulnerability. Here's the part most headlines miss. The dollar's greatest threat was never Beijing. It is Washington itself. The United States now carries $39 trillion in national debt. That total continues to rise by nearly $8 billion every single day. Interest payments alone now consume roughly 14% of the federal budget, and that burden keeps growing. A superpower forced to spend an ever larger share of its income simply servicing old debt has less financial flexibility every year to defend the currency behind that debt. Then there are sanctions. Every time Washington freezes another country's foreign reserves or removes a nation from the global payment system, it sends the same message to every other government watching. Build a backup, quietly, before you ever need one. Sanctions don't merely punish today's adversary. They encourage tomorrow's alternatives. So, is the dollar collapsing? No. Is the yuan about to replace it? Also no. Not next year, probably not even next decade. But something important is happening. The world is no longer building its future entirely inside American financial plumbing. It is building parallel pipes. Slowly, deliberately, one payment network at a time, so that the next time Washington reaches for its most powerful economic weapon, fewer countries remain inside its blast radius. Empires rarely disappear because of one catastrophic blow. They decline when viable alternatives quietly become available. One payment rail, one settlement system, one transaction at a time. And that is the harsh truth.